Alrighty. First off, I got a guest today, Silver and Black. You might recognize him, Hugh Jackson, coach of the Oakland Raiders in 2011, offensive coordinator in 2010, man. And you have a coaching career that goes back 20 plus years.
Oh yeah, no,
yes, sir, man. All the way from when you were in college, and as soon as you graduated with your degree in physical education, became a head coach right away, man.
Yeah,
not a head coach, but
got involved in coaching right away. I didn't know it was what I wanted to do. I was working for Bob Cope at the time, and I thought I wanted to be an FBI agent.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I did. That was my thought, and I had some ends. I had some people that were going to push me forward in the FBI world a little bit so that I could hit the ground running and maybe get ahead a little bit. And then Bob Cope said, I think you'd be an unbelievable coach. He said, either you want to go find criminals or you want to be hunted as a coach, one or the other. So I think I chose the other one.
Oh, yes, sir, man. And you tell me what it was like growing up in the L.A. area at the time?
It was rough. I mean, I grew up in South Central L.A. I was around the Crips and the Bloods, and I lived on 52nd and Hoover, so the Hoover Crips was what I knew. But I was also an athlete, so back in those days, and I think it's still the same, the gangsters were really good to the athletes because they wanted to see those guys make it and come back and support their communities. So it was tough, though. It was tough upbringing, but my mom, my dad, God bless them, they both have since passed. They kept my nose clean, and that's what you got to have, somebody that's in your corner.
Yes, sir, man. And I noticed that you played football in high school. You were a quarterback, correct?
Yes, I was.
And you were a letterman in basketball, too.
Yes,
oh,
yes.
Sir,
Dorsey High School, DDP, baby.
Yes, sir. So what got you into football right away?
I think that it probably was always in my blood. I've always been called Coach Hugh or Leader Hugh, whatever you want to call that. So I think I've always had a way with others. And when I'm talking about others, I'm talking about other men, of getting them to do the things that they probably didn't want to do, that gave us a chance to have success.
All right, and I know you don't like the name Huey, man. No one called you Huey at that time?
No, nobody called me Huey at that time. Because if it was Baby Huey, and I'd be ready to fight.
Yes, sir, my man. And also, man, even though that you went into the coaching field, that's not also what you're known for, man. I see that you are in a partnership, and you are with brand
Leyenda. Yes.
Tequila, my man. So tell me how you got into that.
So a good friend of mine introduced me to the owner, and his name is Daryl Spann. He's from Southern California. We had a chance to talk, and our alignment and our vision of what we're trying to do with the brand was right on schedule with each other. I think he's a tremendous partner to have. He's done a great job thus far of getting the brand pushed forward. And I'm just trying to do everything I can to support him and help the brand be the best it can be. We think we have the best organic tequila in the world. It's 100% USDA organic tequila. There's nothing added to it. We would put our tequila up against anybody's.
Oh, yes, sir, man. And you said Daryl Spann, right?
Daryl Spann,
Is it true that he is the first African American president in the tequila business?
Yes, he's the first African American owner and president in the tequila business in the world.
Oh, yes, sir, man. I like to see our people win, man.
Absolutely.
It popped out to me, man. So I'm glad to see you guys, get together and create something great. And
Well, I think that's what it's all about, is supporting people. I mean, when I looked at Daryl, it's really interesting. We have a lot of the similar background. I mean, he was after something, and he's worked extremely hard to get to where he is. And to me, someone helped me attain my goal. Why shouldn't I not help somebody attain their goal?
Oh, yes, sir, man. So once again, congratulations, man. You guys can see the bottles out on.
Oh, absolutely. Right there, man. We're proud of those bottles.
Oh, yes, sir, man. Especially the silver and black one.
Oh, yeah. Hey, we hope that become the Raiders' signature tequila brand.
Oh, yes, sir, man.
Yes.
I might have to look into that.
Yes. It's good. I promise you that.
Oh, yes, sir, man. I like me some tequila. So I'm more of a brandy man, but I dip in tequila now.
Okay.
So I'll be sure to check that out.
You got it.
And also, man, we talked about you and your coaching career. And I noticed I was watching NFL Network. I was watching the TV, and I'm a big football nerd, so I'm always on the football, the East-West Shrine games, the Reese's Senior Bowl. And I noticed that you were in the NFL Collegiate Bowl, and you were coaching the Nationals, right?
I coached the American team.
Oh, American.
Yeah, Marvin had the national team, and I had the American team. It was just fun to do. It gave me a chance to be back on the grass, compete against Marvin and his staff, and put the staff together, and get these players ready for the next opportunity in the National Football League. So it was a lot of fun.
Right. And how did you end up getting into that?
I was called by the NFLPA, and I'm very grateful and thankful that they called me and sought me out and wanted me to be one of the coaches of the teams.
Oh, yes, sir, man. And you talked about your relationship with Marvin, and that goes all the way back to around 2001. I know you were the running backs coach of the Washington Redskins.
Right.
Yes.
Well, me and Marvin's relationship probably stems a little further. Now, we got really close during that time, but when I was playing, and we were end up recruiting against each other, because Marvin was also at Long Beach State at one time, and we ran into each other when I was at Pacific. And so we kind of knew of each other, but had never worked with each other. Almost got together at the University of New Mexico when he was there. But we did make it happen when we were at Washington, and he's been one of my best friends ever since.
Oh, yes, sir, man. And you started off and what I like about you, man, is that was like your first, I know you had an internship with the Los Angeles Rams in 1990.
Yes.
And it was being the running backs coach for the Washington Redskins, the first break of you getting into the coaching?
Well, it was my first break into the National Football League.
Oh, yes.
So obviously coaching at USC and Arizona State and Cal, some of the better Pac-12 schools. I was very fortunate to have those chances. But once Marty Schottenheimer hired me to the Washington Redskins, it's when my pro career really took off.
Oh, yes, sir. And you were there from 01 to 02, and then you were promoted to offensive coordinator in 2003. Is that correct?
Yeah, with Steve Spurrier.
Oh, yes, sir, man. So tell me what it was like just actually, being the first-time offensive coordinator at this type of level, man.
Well, it was great. I mean, and again, people don't understand that sometimes you get those titles, but they don't come with all the responsibility. Oh, yeah. And I think that's what's hurt a lot of the minority coaches today. Sometimes you get the title as being the coordinator, but you're not the primary play caller. So, you do all the organizational work, you cross the T's, you dot the I's, you do all that, but you don't get to call the plays. So that could be tough sometimes.
Oh, yes, sir, man. And were you calling the plays, or were you just...
No, I didn't. I was not the designated play caller, but what happened was during my career with Coach Spurrier, there was a couple of times he did, in fact, let me call the game. It's well documented. I called the game against Seattle at home in Washington, which we won. He gave me a chance to call it in Carolina, the New York Giants. So it was really a good experience for me. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, yes, sir, man. And then 4 years later, fast forward to 2007, you got another opportunity to be an offensive coordinator in the Atlanta Falcons. Yeah, tell me how it was. And I noticed that in 2003, you guys were running mostly a spread offense at that time. Tell me what it was like going from the spread offense now to the West Coast going to Atlanta.
Well, going to Atlanta, because with Bob Petrino, who was a good personal friend, because we worked together at Arizona State. So I thought it was going to be my true first opportunity to be the coordinator. But it was almost like working for Coach Spurrier in the beginning. Again, they wanted you to be the coordinator and make sure everything is organized and done a certain way, but you wasn't a primary play caller. And as you know, Bob Petrino left. So once he left, I got an opportunity to call plays again, where we had some really, really good offensive games, beat Seattle again in Atlanta. It was a fun time. It was like an awakening for me of what I truly wanted to do.
Oh, yes, sir, man. And I know for offensive coordinators, you want to, get to know your quarterback and see what their strengths and weaknesses are. How difficult was it for that year that you guys had Joey Harrington, Byron Leftwich, like the first name, by the way.
Oh, yeah. And Chris Redmond. Yeah.
So how difficult was that, to take over the responsibilities and just try to figure out how you guys were going to, game plan with all three of them?
Right. Well, it was tough because, we thought we were going to have Michael Vick, one of the premier players in all of pro football. And then when you take him out of the equation, you're left kind of trying to figure out what was going to be best. And so, as you just said, we've had to play three guys. They all played. They all had different strengths. We tried to fashion an offense that fit their skills. Like I said, during that year, Bob left. We ended up finishing up with Chris Redman. I thought he played some really good football and gave us a chance to win games.
Oh, yes, sir, man. And now we're going to fast forward to 3 years later. My favorite topics are right here. And, you end up becoming the offensive coordinator for the Oakland Raiders in the year of 2010. First off, how did you even get into that? Were you contacted by Tom Cable or Al Al Davis, or what was going on?
No, it was through Al Davis. He had a relationship with Mike Brown, who was the owner in Cincinnati.
Right.
He was looking for a young, offensive-minded, innovative head coach. He called me and gave me an opportunity, and the rest was history.
Oh, yes, sir. And this time, were you the one calling the majority of the plays?
Absolutely. And, and to walk you through that, and I think that's what our fans don't know and don't understand, there's only been 18 minority head coaches. This is the 100-year history of the league.
Wow.
There's only been 18. On offense, there's only been 5 total. And I've been it twice. So I know the responsibility and what comes with all of this. A lot of people don't really know those numbers, but I do. And so to have the chance to be the play caller for the Oakland Raiders was very special to me.
Oh, yes, sir, man. And what I like most about it, because you said this was you actually, when calling the calls, and this was with you, and it led to you guys having the sixth best ranked offense that year, second in NFL rushing, man. How did it feel that, that you were like somewhat behind, calling the play, somewhat, just being an offensive coordinator. Now this is your time to shine, and it pays off. You end up having a top 10 offense.
Absolutely. I mean, they were 31st in offense. When I got there, they had I thought some really good players. I just created an environment for those players to be who they could be the best versions of themselves. Like you said, we were 6th. I think the players saw the change of the culture and started truly believing in what we could be offensively, and it took off, and again, I give Al Davis the credit for hiring me and Tom Cable the credit for allowing me to coach the offense.
Oh, yes, sir, man. I will never forget that season, man, because it was rough during those stretches being a Raider fan, not seeing the offense and then seeing all these players just come out of nowhere. And also, what I don't think you get enough credit for, man, is when Darren McFadden, I know his first 2 years in the league, he kind of struggled with the zone blocking scheme, and then you helped him get his first 1,000-yard season, added Michael Bush with a nice backup.
Right.
And then there's also a question I want to ask, how did you guys develop Marcel Reese? Because I know that in 2008 and 2009, he was mainly on the practice squad, and then you come along, and next this fullback is out here catching passes, running sometimes, and is a triple threat. So how did you see it in Marcel, or did it come over time?
No, I did. If you do your research and your homework, you would find that Marcel was a receiver.
Oh, yes, sir.
At the University of Washington. And then when I thought back to Darren and Michael Bush, who you just mentioned, you're talking about 2 of the finer college running backs in all of college football. So they don't become bad players. It becomes putting them in the right situation so they can have success. And that's what I try to do for Darren. I said, Darren, just tell me, what are the things you like to run the most? And he told me. And Michael, what do you like to run? Michael would always say he likes to run anything, And then when I think about Marcel, he was the jack of all trades. And he was just a good runner with the football too. But we didn't have one football. We had Darren McFadden, we had Michael Bush, and then we had Marcel. So being able to throw him the ball really, really gave him a chance to showcase his ability.
Yes, sir, man. And also, man, where I saw the genius in you is because when you look at today with the Baltimore Ravens, they made the offense around Lamar Jackson.
Yes.
And then you look at the New England Patriots at that time having the 2 tight end system with Aaron Hernandez and Rob Gronkowski.
Yes.
And I remember just sitting there like, wow, we actually have a fullback, and I know people don't game plan for the fullback.
Right.
Now you have to game plan for Darren. Now you got a game plan for Jacoby. Now you got a game plan for Michael Bush. So, like I said, I saw it in you. I was like, all right, I like this you guys.
Well, thank you. No, that's the big part of the game, and I think people miss out on that. It's really about the players. It's not about the coach. It's putting those players in position so they can showcase their talent and ability.
Yes, I know it had to be frustrating that after that season, you guys go 6-0 in the division, but unfortunately couldn't make the playoffs. First time since the NFL merger, which I was like 6-0. We're in. I was happy. I'm finally gonna see it, and then you know, Kansas City got in there. But you know, like I said, I saw it in you immediately, and I was just like, yeah, I like this Hugh Jackson guy. So I appreciate it. Thank you for the memories. Like I said, just talking to you, talking with you right now, it just brings back that season, man. And also, there's one game I got to point out the most, which is probably my favorite game, and it was in Denver. 59-14. You might be familiar.
Oh yeah.
You might be familiar with that.
I will never forget that game.
Yes, sir, man. And the also thing that stood out to me is that Darren McFadden had 16 rushing attempts, Michael Bush had 15, and Marcel Reese had 7, and all of them scored touchdowns.
Oh yeah. No, so, they were special.
Yes, sir,
it was one of the funnest times of my life. You know, when you call offense, you design every play, you go for a touchdown.
Yes, sir.
And that night, that's what it was doing. You know, so that felt good. And we, we had went to Mile High Stadium in Denver. I was told that every team in the division was better than the Raiders, and you just said it. We finished 6-0, and I think the other thing that I was most proud about is against every team we rushed for over 200 yards.
Oh yes, sir.
You know, so we took a lot of pride. That's why people forget those things about me, you know, that I do know how to do that with the best of them. You just got to be put in a position to do those things.
Oh, yes, sir, man. And during the game, was there a point where you wanted to take your foot off the gas?
No.
Where you were just like,
no.
I got to keep it going.
Yeah, the players wouldn't have allowed me to. They were having so much fun, and there's nothing like having a group of men support you and behind you and really trying to do everything they can to show that, man, we're pretty good.
Oh, yes, sir, man. And then fast forward to next year, man, they end up not re-signing Tom Cable. You end up getting the promotion from offensive coordinator to head coach. First off, how was it just being a head coach, but like you said, minority head coach, finally getting your foot in the door, seeing your hard work has finally been paid off, and somebody's been keeping a close eye. How did it feel when Al Davis gave you that call, basically saying you were going to be the head coach?
I will never forget that day, and Al Davis will forever, I'm indebted to him for the rest of my life. He gave me an opportunity to lead his organization. He was an iconic figure. You're talking about the Raiders, you know.
Sir.
The Raiders are, to me, one of the storied franchises in all of pro football. And so to have a chance to see if I could get it to where it needed to be, I was excited about that. It was tough. You know, actually, when the season started, losing Al Davis, because I think we were on a mission. I think we were on a mission. We had a similar vision. We know what we were trying to do, and I think we were heading that way. And it's just unfortunate we lost him.
Yes, sir, man. And one of the great things I like, man, is that Al's last vision of the Raiders being great, and you were that coach that he was like, this is the future of the Raiders, and you talked about in your interviews creating a bully.
Yes.
And just. I'll never forget it, man. So I know it means a lot to you. I remember at that time I was like, you know, I think the tide is turning. I think this is the route. This is the guy that's gonna make it happen. And if you could tell people, what is it like being a head coach? You know, the stuff behind the scenes that not a lot of people know.
Right. Well, the behind the scenes stuff is probably bigger than the in front. You know, out in front, because dealing with general managers, dealing with marketing, dealing with the media, dealing with player issues, dealing with coaching issues, just dealing with issues, period. There's a lot of hats you have to wear, and especially when you're the offensive play caller and designer, then it becomes even more challenging for you. So, again, I really appreciate all 32 guys who are head coaches right now, because I know it's a tough job, and you have to be ready for it. And I don't know, the first chance you get it, are you really ready for it, because you've never done it?
Yes,
but I've watched guys go through it, make the most of it, and keep on going. But it's a tremendous opportunity.
Oh, yes, sir, man. And can you explain to the audience, man, what was the plans that you had going into just once you got the head coach? What were the plans that you said, all right, I'm going to make this, we got to make this type of stuff happen? That
we were going to be a good offensive football team. I wasn't going to let that slide.
Yes,
you know, we went from 6th to 10th. We lost Jason Campbell. Carson Palmer came in, and we were able to rally that way. What I was disappointed about, we couldn't get the defense to play as well as we thought they could. You know, the year before, I think we finished like 11th or 12th. and then we're at 31 with almost the same players. So I was disappointed in that, and I figured, I might needed to step up in that area to help. But at the same time, we had a chance, and we didn't make it happen.
Oh, yes, sir, man. One of my favorite. If we going over the 2011 season, we'll be here all day. I got a lot of questions, but I think I'll start with the first one. The first game of the regular season. It's a Monday night game in Denver. Tell me what it's like just for you. Were you getting a little bit butterflies in your stomach?
I was fired up because I had heard that the Raiders hadn't won a Monday night football game in forever.
Oh, yes, sir.
And especially in the Mile High Stadium against a good Denver football team that had Von Miller and all these pass rushers, and on offense they had a really good team. We wanted to show that we had arrived. We were 6-0 in the division the year before. We were going to open the season in Denver. They hadn't won. And I wanted to do that for Al, and we pulled it off. And that was probably another big game in my Raiders tenure.
Oh, yes, sir, man. First time the Raiders went 1-0 in a very long time. I remember I was in 11th grade, man. I remember next to me in my math class, my geometry class, was a Denver Bronco fan. So me and him were going at it like crazy, man. And I love the next day I came in, his head was to the ground. He was just like, man, you guys might be good. And I remember at that time. And also, what doesn't get enough credit, man, the first game, man, you guys ran 150 yards with Darren McFadden. The first game, first Raiders player since Marcus Allen, breaking that record. And one of the plays that stand out to me, man, because I remember I was yelling at the TV crazy at you, because I can't remember what quarter, but it was a 3rd and 15
draw play.
Yeah, in the draw. And I remember I was like, no, like what? And it went for a first down. And I said, yo, Hugh Jackson might be an offensive master, because that caught me off guard.
No, I credit the players. I was just creating an environment for those guys to be as good as they can be, and they were, and they made me look good, and I could put them in situations where they could have success, so it worked out.
Oh, yes, sir, man. And then I think this might be my favorite question to ask you. Week 3 against the New York Jets. I remember going into that game, I was telling all my Raider homies, I was like, listen, we got to start passing because we're not going to be able to run it on Rex Ryan's defense. I remember it was back then the Pittsburgh Steelers and the New York Jets, you could not run on them. And I remember...
That's what they said.
Yeah. I remember at that time, I was telling everybody, I was like, we need to get Jason Campbell started early. We need to get these receivers going. And to see the way that you just ran it down their throats, man. I mean, just like, I remember when you were starting to run the ball, and this is why I'm not a head coach. I remember I was sitting there like, all right, man, we need to ease off this, man. Like, we need to start getting this pass. And tell me about just the fact that Rex Ryan's legendary defense that you couldn't run on it, and you guys ended up running for 171 yards with Darren McFadden, 2 touchdowns. You even threw in a Wildcat, I believe. So just tell me about that.
Well, you just said it earlier. I mean, I really believe you have to run the ball to win in the National Football League. You look what San Francisco. You look at what San Francisco's doing right now. I mean, the quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo, who they're paying a ton of money, they threw the ball 11 times last week. So that's why I always look at the teams that can run the football, because to me those coaches are special and those players are, because that means they got some roughhouse players. They're physical, they want to get after it, and that's what football is. At the end of the day, you got to be able to take your 6 or 7 guys, the offensive line, a tight end, and some receivers, and you got to knock the other team down, and that's what it comes down to.
Like I said, I lost my voice that night, man. There was a lot of yelling, man. So that was it. That's another memory I remember like yesterday. Man.
Awesome.
So I appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
And I remember there's a clip of you when you were coming off. You're like, that's it.
Yes.
That's it with the name. I was like, yeah, I like this.
Yes.
Man. So I appreciate that. And then, fortunately, week 5, man. Houston Texans game, the day before you get the news. First off, where were you, and what happened when you received the news?
I was in my room. I was sleeping, and then I heard the doorbell ring to my room, and no one had ever awakened me that early, so I knew it had to be an issue, either with my family or something with one of the players. I never suspected it was Al. And then when I seen Mark, it was Mark who had came to tell me that his dad had passed, and it was tough, because Al is somebody who really believed in me. Everybody has a couple people that kind of champion you. Yeah. That was my champion. Along with Marvin Lewis, those are 2 people that I know, and Mike Brown. There's 3 people I know who champion Hugh Jackson, and so we all need those people in our lives, and that's what Al Davis was for me.
I remember my dad. He called me and he let me know because I was over at a friend's house and I'll never forget. He called me and told me that Al passed, and I was like, no way. And then,
Right.
I go on. I tell my friend, can I turn on the TV? Even though it was his house, I was like, hey man, can you mind if I turn the TV? He's like, yeah, go ahead. And then getting the news, man, it was devastating. Like
Yes.
I said, I looked up to Al, and I just love looking at the Super Bowl memories, just the way, the passion, the way his vision for the Raiders, man. And it was a sad day for Raider Nation, man. It really was. And how hard was it that Saturday you go from morning and now you have to tell your group of men the very next day, hey, we got to play a football game? How hard is that?
It was hard. Probably the best thing I did on that trip to put us in position to have a chance to win the game was we went early. You know, any trip that was outside of the West Coast time zone, we would go down a day early just to acclimate ourselves to everything. And so we were there on a Friday. Al dies early Saturday morning. So I'm able to tell the players, have them process it the best they could, but also get them ready to play in a big game that night and have them understand what Al would have wanted us to do, which is go win the game.
Yes, sir, man. What was like the locker room vibe, just giving, like, how hard was it to give a speech to them, to get these guys pumped up still?
It was hard because I gave them a speech the day before just about what Al Davis meant.
Yeah.
And he meant so much to so many people, so many of the players. But to really be able to share with them what his vision was for the Raiders to go back to being the Raiders.
Yes, sir.
That they were bullies, they were tough, they would play you any place, anywhere, anytime, and they beat you up, and they won. And I was trying to reinstill that back into the players, and I thought we were heading in that direction, until we lost our quarterback.
Yes, sir, man. And what I also like in that game, man, is, Darius Hayward Bay was going off. He scored the touchdown. That was an Al Davis pick that a lot of people were very against, including myself.
Totally against. Totally against.
Yes, Sebastian Janikowski kicking the field goals, man. And then you, man, again, man, I used to call you Heart Attack Q, man. 'Cause you used to give me heart attacks, man. I remember when you ran that fake punt. I was I don't know. And then next, Rock Cartwright takes it, man. So it was just amazing to see how the game was transitioning. And I was like, what, I think we'll end up winning. And then the last play of the game, the legendary game, man.
That's right.
The 10 men out on the field.
10 men on the field. Al Davis was out there, buddy. Trust me, he was.
I got a question for you.
Sure.
About that, man. Do you know who was supposed to be out there, the 11th man, or did you have no idea?
No, it was a secondary play. I had no idea.
Oh, you had no idea?
No idea till it was over.
Wow.
And then I realized that I was told, Q, that there was only 10 people out there. We were missing a secondary player.
Yeah, it's crazy. I said the same thing. They're like, there's 10 men on the field. And then I remember I paused it and I was like, oh, shit. Like, we almost.
Because it was such a high anxiety play.
Yeah.
Just being very honest, I think all of us coaches, we kind of was shocked. Here was the game, and we're all thinking of Al, and we all needed to be better at our jobs at that time instead of having 10 out there, having 11. But somehow, some way, no one really knew it. And at the end of the day, we won the game with 10 guys out there.
Yes, sir, man. Michael Huff, man.
Yes.
That is by far, out of all my years of watching a Raider football, man, at that time, that was the best game. It was a perfect ending. I was like, it
was. No doubt. No, it couldn't have.
Yes, sir, man. And what was the locker room vibe going into that one?
Afterwards, it was unbelievable. Going into it, everybody was kind of hurt. I'm not going to ever compare. I couldn't compare what happened to Kobe, to that. But it has some of those similar feelings to it because, again, like I said, Al Davis was an icon. He was very well known all over the world. So when you talk about Raiders football, you couldn't talk about Raiders football without talking about Al Davis. So it was a tough time before the game started, but boy, it was jubilation when it was over.
Oh yes, sir, man. Like I said, one of my favorite games of all time. Man, I'd probably put it a close second, man, because probably the one in New Orleans Saints. And how that went down. That one would probably be my favorite. But at that time, man, that one was my favorite with the Houston Texans, man. And then you fast forward to next week, man. You're on the roll, man. This team's going to 4-2. Offense is looking phenomenal. It's looking like the Raiders are about to be, that team that came out of nowhere and led by a minority head coach. And I'm sitting there like everything's lined up perfectly. And then particular play where Jason Campbell goes to scramble for a first down and ends up breaking his collarbone. When they were bringing them to the sidelines, how serious did you think it was at that time?
I was told that it wasn't going to be good. So I was very frustrated and hurt for the team because I thought that was a special team. I thought that team had the makings. It had the grit. It had the toughness. It had been hardened the year before. And it was a tough-minded football team with Jason Campbell. Nothing against Carson. I love Carson like a son.
Yeah.
But Jason was he became the Piper of the group. And
at that time, Terrell Pryor serving a 5-game suspension, and week 6 comes around, broken collarbone, and I was suspecting at the time, I think this might be the time they play Terrell Pryor. Was there any thoughts about putting him in the game plan or making him the quarterback?
Not at all. He just wasn't ready. He was a player who we had in training camp, and we got him late in training camp, and then we could not practice with him. So I knew he wasn't ready to play by no stretch. So we did the right thing by him.
Oh, yes, sir, man. And I know this next question, man, the Carson Palmer trade. Man. I know you had connections with Carson Palmer. And was it true that you were the one that recruited him to USC?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Sir? I recruited him to USC, but I didn't recruit him to the Raiders.
Yes,
that was Mark Davis. A lot of people give me a lot of grief about that. Of, boy, you brought Carson there, and boy, you know.
Oh, so that wasn't you?
No.
Oh. Okay.
What it was because of my relationship with him, and like you said, I recruited him to USC. I coached him at USC and was with him in Cincinnati. The first thing was, it must be Hugh. But I was asked about him, obviously. Yeah. But Mark was the one that made that happen.
Oh, hey, man. Like I said, you dropping new knowledge on
yes,
me.
absolutely.
I thought you were like, you know what, let me just give this guy a call.
No, that was Mark all the way.
Oh, dang, man. That's crazy, man. And then you guys, you're still going on a big road, man. You guys start the season off 7-4. I remember, I'll never forget, I was on the internet and I was looking at the polls, and it was the playoff picture, and it had us in it. And that was the first time ever I saw Raiders in playoffs just in the same.
Oh yeah.
So I was literally in tears about that, man. I loved everything that was going, like I said. And then also, that's what I forgot to say. And then the next week, when you guys were in Cleveland, the very next week, Darren McFadden gets the injury.
Yes.
Yeah, so
we start getting some very devastating injuries.
Yeah,
but we fought, and we still had a chance.
Yeah, and I do remember at that time, like, he was on the injury report every week and everything like that. Were you guys, like, thinking he was coming back, or was it just progressively getting worse?
I thought there was a chance, and then it was brought to my knowledge that it probably was not going to happen. That it was one of those Liz Frank injuries and not just a high ankle sprain.
Yes, sir, man. Well, at least you had Michael Bush, man.
Absolutely.
Yes,
we did.
But you almost had a 1,000-yard season.
Yes.
As well, man. Yes. And you helped out with Darius Hayward.
Yes.
Almost getting it. Like I said, a guy who was known just as a speedster.
Yes.
And like I said, underrated. You very underrated about your coaching, man. You're taking players that not too many people would look at and be like, I can work with this guy. But you just said, I think we can work with it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, man. Like I said, I see. Like I said, man, maybe it's the Raider bias, but I don't think it is.
All right.
You're very talented, man. And I think this will be the last question.
You got it.
Man. The last game of the season, we're playing against the San Diego Chargers. And I remember they were saying if the Broncos were going to beat the Chiefs, that was it. There was no chance. And then Kansas City ends up beating the Broncos.
Beat the Broncos.
And I remember in that game, I was like, yo, all we have to do is win. Tell me about just the motions and, what transpired in that game.
Well, the game meant everything to me and our staff and the players. We didn't play like it, though. I mean, the offense played, I thought, well enough to win. The defense, we didn't play,
Yeah, I remember.
We never made them punt, and so I was disappointed in that. I mean, it wasn't that our players weren't trying. I mean, we just could not make a play that day for whatever the reason. And we had a chance to do something that hadn't been done there, which is win the division, host a home playoff game at home, and start to lay claim that the Raiders were back. And we lost that opportunity, and I was very frustrated by it.
Yes, sir, man. I can only imagine, man, just at that time, one game, and then it's...
Oh, yeah.
It's all there, and then that was it, man.
Yeah.
Is it frustrating for you that, you wanted to be that first, the first head coach to take them back to the playoffs?
Oh, absolutely. That was my all-consuming passion. I believe I could. I believe we would have had some things need to fall our way, but I didn't at the end of the day. But did I want to be that guy? There's no doubt I wanted to be that guy.
Yes, sir, man. And then this one's a rumor. I don't know if this one is true, so I wanted to ask you. I remember I was reading Ray articles, and it said if we did win that playoff game, that you were gonna put Darren McFadden in the lineup. Was that true at all, or was that still a rule out?
No, there was a chance. Now, if we made the playoffs, there might have been a chance he could have been back.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. Now, he might not have been 100%, but I think he would have been out there trying.
Yes, sir, man.
Yeah.
And then the last one, man, and this one might not be the easiest one, but how was it given the news that you weren't going to come back?
That was hard. I mean, I mean, how many first-time head coaches get fired after being 8-8
yes,
and almost going?
That was the thing with me, man.
Yeah, and almost going to the playoffs.
Yes, sir.
And being a minority, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, and I remember I was just like, I wanted to see you with a second year with
Yes.
Carson. I wanted
Oh my
to see
gosh.
the offense was going to be like
We would
Darren
have.
McFadden,
We would have been dangerous. There's no
That's
doubt.
what I'm saying.
There's no doubt in my mind.